Hey, this is Joseph Sharp with Lead Tech Service. I just wanted to do a short video about some Apple Watches I've been seeing pretty regularly. These watches come in with the screen either lifting off. This screen was pretty interesting that it cracked all the way around the edges. That the frame, this is part of the glass, this actually stayed on the device and broke the screen all the way around. Now, the way Apple works is that if you have a bad battery or a blood battery or the screen comes off, then they're going to cover it under warranty under your 1 year. If it is broken screen, however, they say that you need to have that screen replaced and want to charge $280 to do that. And that may or may not be their fault for not engineering enough leeway above where that battery is located. In all these cases where you see a lifting screen or blown out like that, you have two common reasons for it. Either they've gotten into some oil or alcohol or something that's going to eat away at that gasket that goes around the edge. The other reason could be that the battery has been left on the charger too long. We know with iPhones that if you leave that battery out, it's going to tend to swell and possibly explode. This is a new battery. These happen to come from a company called Mingtor. I really like their quality. They have all kinds of gaskets and really hard to find components, and similar price to somewhere that's more common like Mobile Centrics. Mobile Centrics is where I got the screen, in fact. The new Apple Watch 3, it's the 42 millimeter. This one has GPS and cellular. We know it has cellular because of that red dot right there. That's how we can tell pretty quickly without running any serial numbers or anything. And you can already see, I just pulled the new battery out of the package. Kind of the size difference between these two. That one is flat and one is starting to bow up. And so what I'm going to do is go ahead and take the battery out of this guy, and should be able to get a better shot of how this battery is starting to swell up. Again, as these things age, this is going to be more and more common. Apple's trying to fit more and more battery capacity into these devices without doing a whole lot of their homework about how long these things are actually supposed to last. And so we're seeing a lot of these come back with the swollen batteries, and people not too happy about that. So we're gonna go ahead and pop that off right there. Pull some of that adhesive out from under it, and we can already see that there is not a terribly substantial difference in between those two, but enough to actually make that screen come out. So we can see that those are almost identical. The new one may actually be bigger, but it is just enough to cause that battery to lift, or to cause that screen to lift and break out. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of my teardown here and swap this battery out for this guy. We see these so commonly, and this one doesn't even appear to be that bad. Usually when we see these come in, the batteries are very swollen. And so what we're going to do is go ahead and take a little bit of this apart. Our haptic engine is sitting on top of what we need to get to under here. We've done a lot of the Series 1 and 2, not so many of the Series 3. So I'm going to be a little bit more careful than I usually am trying to get this guy apart. Make sure that I'm not losing my mind. Thinking this is somewhere where it's not. Now there's just a tiny bit of, it looks like they use black adhesive in this one. That seems to be a new trick for Apple. I hadn't seen that before. Usually we're used to seeing either the white adhesive, like in the iPhone 6, or the black adhesive I'm sorry, the clear adhesive like out of the Samsung or something. Or out of the iPhone 4 if you're actually that old. So, be kind of ginger. I'm going to get this haptic engine out. I've taken 2 screws out. I might be missing a screw, and that could cause us to bow up on me, but we'll see. I think I am. There's one kind of staring me in the face, so we're just going to take it out for good measure. I don't see many of the 32 or the 38 millimeter actually come apart. They must have a little bit better sizing inside of them to not have that kind of same problem. So, just trying to be real ginger. Try to get this guy apart without tearing anything too badly. Let's say that I can see that this lifts up, and I'm not sure what or where those connectors go to. It looks like that is to our force touch sensor. If you're not familiar with an Apple Watch, you have the touch screen. This is the Series 3, so they've moved to a new type of zero force, like the ZIF connectors. And that's going to make it a little bit easier to get apart. Some people had issue with the clamshell that was provided with the Series 1. This is the same style as the Series 2. These look almost identical on the inside as the Series 2, which we really didn't see that many of. I think most people who had the Series 1 didn't see any reason to actually upgrade to the Series 3, or from the Series 1 to the Series 2. With the addition of something like cellular, and that made it very intriguing to a lot of people to be able to leave your phone at home and just be out and about with the device itself, and not have to have that overhead of carrying your phone, or maybe you just want to carry like on a surfboard or something. You don't have a lot of room, and you just need to have yourself and wherever you're going to go with that. So I don't see an awesome way to take this haptic engine out. I do see that there is a way that we can lift this up. Very, very carefully. I'm just going to go ahead and remove the whole seal in there. That gives us better access to this. There we go. So there's a little connector for what I presume was the haptic engine there. And that gives us access to this. I'm going to use a black stick to remove this battery connector because, again, it's a battery and we don't want to explode anything. Generally, that's frowned upon. I'm just going to undo that. That battery just falls right out. So now we can get a better look at the new battery versus the old one. And yeah, it is indeed quite a bit bigger. It's not terribly noticeable, but I can actually feel a weight difference between the two. I'm just going to go ahead and start to reassemble this guy. With the Series 1, I like to plug in the battery last, just to make sure that the thing isn't running while you're working on it, and plugging that new LED screen in. But on this one, it doesn't look like that's going to be possible. What I'm trying to do is just line up that connector. These battery connectors have been pretty finicky from the get-go. A lot of the newer iPhones are moving to this style. The iPhone 10, I believe the 8 and 8 Plus have the smaller connector in there, and it does make it a little frustrating to work on. Remove the backing for the new adhesive. Throw that aside. And our new battery's back in. Okay. So now that we've done that, my Force Touch sensor I kind of inspected, made sure that I wasn't destroying anything while taking it apart. Most of my vendors are out of stock for the 3D touch sensor for the cellular version of the Apple Watch Series 3. So I was very, very ginger to remove this ring, and I actually did it with a little bit of heat underneath the microscope. And this is the glass that was from the outside of that screen. So I'm going to put that back there. That screw in the top didn't look like it went to anything, or anything that we're going to be working on. Just going to cinch that back down. These are tri-wing drivers, just like in the iPhone 7. And so make sure that you have all your tools ready before you go tearing one of these guys apart. Just going to place that back. There's a little bit of adhesive under it. I just felt it click back in place for that clamshell connector. Now we have 2 screws. There's one. And the other one. I keep all my drivers highly magnetized. These little screws would be a total nightmare to work on if they weren't. The screwdriver that I'm using is a Y000. Search for Y000 on Amazon, and you should be able to come up with something very similar to these. Now that that's done, you don't want to let people know that you're very uptight about your tools. Generally want to share as much as you can in a shop. So I'm starting to see the top layer adhesive come off this thing. I'm just going to scrape that away. No, you absolutely don't want to damage this 3D touch sensor. These are very, very delicate, and especially when you're taking the device apart, you don't want the layers of this thing to separate, because that's actually how this thing is put together. It's very similar to the 3D touch sensor in a iPhone 6s, where if you take the backlight off, you can actually get access to that 3D touch sensor. And take a look at that if you ever have a chance. It's kind of interesting to look at. It's a grid layout. When those grids are compressed onto each other, you then have a new kind of touch functionality in your device. It's not as high resolution as the current digitizers, but these definitely give you a new level of access to your device. I like to think of it as being able to right-click on a Windows computer, or if you use a Mac, and Option-click. So I'm just going around and removing this adhesive, just kind of scraping it off. Seeing it kind of beat up and fall off there. Alrighty. We're just going to hold those down and get to this area. Now the battery in this, which we just swapped out, these are actually really decent batteries. The amount of performance that they pack into one of these is pretty unreal. What we can see is these are 1.3 watt-hour batteries. That's pretty insane thinking about how small they actually are. If I had an iPhone battery, I have an iPhone 7. These are 7.5 watt-hours, so only about 6 times bigger or so. And you can see how much more power density you have in one of these Apple batteries than this. These are insane little pieces of technology. I'm really proud of the work that Apple did with this Apple Watch, with the newest one anyways. I knew that they were going to add cellular from the day they announced an Apple Watch. And a lot of people who have these are very, very proud of them. They have a steep learning curve being a smaller device. But I feel that once people get used to them and understand how they work and how to put them to best use, then they will really, really enjoy one. So I've cleaned a lot of that debris off. Use a little alcohol and a toothbrush. This will just dissolve any other adhesive we have in here. We want to let this dry completely before we lay the new adhesive back on here. My new adhesive again came from a company called Mingtor, Mengtor. They are a really, really awesome distributor. I believe they're out of California. You may want to correct me if I'm mistaken. But they really don't get enough rep. I found their site a while back. I actually met them in CTIA in Las Vegas a couple years ago, and saw their booth, saw their products, and I was blown away by the kind of precision and quality that they provide. Their stuff is very, very close to what a manufacturer would be providing if Apple service parts for these. Well, these Apple Watch screens, I'm assuming that these are OEM pulls. I don't see many of them with remanufacturer stickers. Usually you'll have 5 or 6 stickers on an aftermarket device. These only have one stamp that's going to be from your OEM, wherever at in China that they're recycling these. You'll have a stamp come from there. And then you see the little holographic sticker. That's actually from Mobile Centrics. They do that, and there's a date code, so we know that it was manufactured in March of this year. And so I'm just going around and continuing to clean this gasket, we want to make sure that that is very, very solid before we do anything else. And I can still see just a little bit of debris. Alrighty. I think we're okay there. There's a little latch right here. This latch will line up with the screen. The screen has a little hook in it. You need these two to line up. I assume it's a grounding pad or something like that. But those two parts need to line up. This little latch and this guy right here are going to line up. Should be pretty perfectly. I'll set that back aside. I ordered spare gaskets just in case we needed them. But I don't think that's going to be the case. This is a 42 millimeter, just the rubber gasket. These same ones work for the Apple Watch 1, 2, and 3, so we don't have to worry about which one we're finding. Go ahead and peel the edge off there all the way around. And now we have an adhesive side right there. We have our white backing, and then we have our blue side. And the blue side is very easy to remove. So you always want to make sure that that is not the part that you peel off first. You can go ahead and lay this down. And make sure that there's nothing really in the way around here. Gotta puncture this and see if we can't start to remove this inner backing. And we're just going to use the flat end of our nylon stick to squeegee this down. It does look like those are a little bit differently sized. Want to make sure that this is sealed all the way around the edge. And these gaskets will stretch just a little bit as you're laying them down. Okay. That's good enough. I can't get this broken loose. We're going to put a cut into this gasket here. That way we can lay the screen down. Just going to cut that right there. And this way, when we lay the screen down, we don't have to have this plastic exposed, or to have that seal exposed. We can put that screen, we can plug it in, we can move it around, we can put it where we need it, we can test everything out, and then we're absolutely sure that we want to close the device. Then we can actually pull that blue adhesive away and expose that that gasket. Take our new screen out of the packaging. Inspect it, make sure it's not cracked or anything like that. I'm going to open all three of the things. That one's already open, that one's already open. And I'm using a pair of straight tweezers. Probably going to swap this out for my curved ones. And we just want to press each one of these in place. Make sure that these are seated quite well. These connectors are pretty finicky. Alright. I've seen a lot of these that people complain about video or touch issues. They're like, hey, this isn't working just right. They sent it to our shop to be looked at again, and what's happened is they inserted it pretty much like that and called it a day. And you can see that that just isn't close enough to where it needs to be. These are actually all the way into the ZIF connectors. Those are zero insertion force. We're going to plug them all the way in, and then we're going to flip this little jawbone down. Please do not break off these jawbone connectors. These are double-sided, so unlike a iPad or something like that, you can't just shim that connector and hope that it's going to work. I can already tell you that it won't. So, I'll take our little gasket off. I'm going to figure out how this gasket goes back. Okay, that's not right. There we go. We're just going to place this gasket back over the cables to make sure that they don't go anywhere. Okay, that's awesome. Try to turn it on. Sometimes the new batteries will carry some juice. Most of these Apple Watch batteries that we've been receiving have been completely dead. So Just gonna put that on the charger. Okay, we have a charging symbol on this battery now. Okay. Now that we're reasonably sure that we want to close this thing, I'm going to go ahead and peel this gasket off. All around. How much easier that made that. Pop that connector in the top left where it's supposed to be. And we're going to press the rest of the screen down. Okay. So that's sealed. I hope this video helped you guys out. These Apple Watches aren't something that I would recommend a lot of techs work on. They're pretty quick once you learn how to do them, but they're definitely a little bit higher level of detail than you see with an iPhone. Whereas an iPhone, you can get away with quite a lot before it'll stop working on you. These, what we find is that if you aren't 100% accurate while working on these, you'll find that they may not work for you. I have a lot of technicians who I work with who love these. I have a lot of technicians who absolutely hate the Apple Watch, but teach their own. I hope this video helped. If you thought it was beneficial to you, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. We intend on making a lot more videos and producing some different content, possibly interview series or something like that with other cell phone store owners. I want to appreciate you guys today, and then if you have any questions or want service from us, just look us up on Facebook or at our website, leadtechservice.com. Thanks. Have a great day.